Okay, so I guess I'll start this little series of fixing up my new boat. Here it is. It is a 1989 Sea Nymph Great Lakes Special, 19.5 foot. I picked it up for like $3,200 bucks, 33 if you count me putting in a brand new battery yesterday, just to get it started. She's got a few problems. It's to be expected. The problem that I'm addressing right now is the one that's keeping me from really fishing with it, and that is this incessant beeping that is coming from that throttle assembly right there as soon as you turn the key. Now, I did some reading up on this. It's allegedly the oil pump not working or engine overheat. Seeing as how it's happening as soon as I turn the key, I gotta believe there's something wrong other than that. Maybe the beeper itself is shorted out. There's some jerry-rigged wiring in here that could have something to do with it. You have a look at this hodgepodge mess. There's connectors here that don't appear to be attached to anything anymore that maybe should be. You got me. So I'm trying to troubleshoot that the oil sensor at the moment. We'll see how that goes. So what I'm looking at on this old 90 horse Merc oil injected is this guy right here. Is the engine temperature sensor. Following this wire right from down here over to here, terminates right here, splits into two paths, trying to figure out where they go so I can try and figure out what the heck is going on with this thing. So this one appears to go into this main whip, goes back into the boat, and is received at that unit down there. So this one goes to this little unit, and I'm not sure what that is. Could be a voltage control unit, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out how a single lead out of this thing could possibly be letting it work. Alright, so I made a change. We'll see if it'll do anything. What I did is I disconnected that wire that was connected to the this little engine temperature sensor. And now I'm going to reconnect the battery real quick, turn the key, and see if the beep is still there. Yep. I'll try one more thing. Go around and loosen up this whole assembly. Play with these. Clearly influences it somewhat, but I don't think it's doing it in the way I want it to. I'd really rather not rip this whole unit apart to figure out what it is, but at the moment that might be the easiest way. Yeah, I probably ought to do that. I've never taken one of these things apart before. I've never done really anything on a boat before. he is. So this little thing makes me think this is the buzzer. Half amp, 125 VDC, comma quarter amp, 250 DC, 15.1-2 HB, HR. I don't know what the hell that is. Probably the power of this thing. If this is tied into this key, that's probably why when I hit the key, beeper kicks on maybe. This little guy I think is a switch. So when it's in gear, this switch disengages or engages, one or the other. That's tied to here through this little funny looking stab connector, I think. Unless that's connected to something else, but it looks like it runs right into the back there. Or this red wire. Oh, you know what? It's not tied to there at all. That little yellow and red wire is separate. It's just pressing into the back of there. This little rubber jobby. So let me see, I've got this brown run in here. You know what? I think I gotta get stuff like out of there to see what I'm even working with. There are two little wires running into here. This brown one, which is connected to the pink and blue, which, if I remember correctly, is connected to the temperature sensor. And I've got this purple one, which is tied to a bunch of other purple ones. And the purple one is tied to something. I can't tell. I'm going to have to pop this little guy out too. Okay, purple, pink and blue's all tied together. Purple's all tied together. We got a purple in the key. Oh, you know what? Purple in the key is tied directly to this little guy. It's got to go through the key. That's fun. Straight to here. Straight to this thing. Straight to this annoying little buzzer that goes off perpetually. This little pink guy, which is tied. I thought that guy was coming out of this whip. No, you know what? Yeah, it looks like a brown and blue coming out of this one. But that's the one that's tied to this pink. And one of those pinks heads up into this whip. The other one heads into this little guy. So let me see what else is tied in to that thing back there. That sensor came down. Let's see if that purple's a hot or a ground. You think, how would this sensor work? It's probably got a ground connection here. I have to imagine it's grounded on the black. If it gets hot enough, it probably completes the circuit, shorts this puppy out. There's only one wire. So we're grounded here, go through the sensor, and out. Okay, normal path to ground, fine. Up into here, tied in here with this little guy right here that goes into this whip, which is good. And then we've got this little guy, which is coming out of this thing. So maybe this is bad. Alright, because those are all tied together. Boy, that'd be really unfortunate if this little unit right here is bad. I don't know what the hell it is, but it looks important. Alright, let me see here. This is definitely run into that thing. This thing has leads that come out. You get these two blues, it looks like, and a purple. It's tied to this pink that goes up into the main whip. Pink and junk. And there's this guy. So let me think here. If this pad bear here completes the circuit to ground when this thing gets up to temperature and kicks that, then if I disconnect it, maybe that'll quit going off. I kind of tried that earlier by jimmying it, but it sort of made a sound. But maybe that's the ticket, doing it right. Okay. Out of this little terminal block. Put that little guy back in. Now my fear with this sensor is that it's bad. I don't want it to be bad. They're kind of expensive. I spent a ton of money on this boat. Not on this anyways. Now supposedly the oil pump can cause this too, so I'm not sure where the oil pump is on this thing. I think if I draw a little line down here from where the oil is, bottom of the pan, to this little level gauge, to over here. Well, I'll show you a little better. Oil pan, which is like full. And there's these two little cables, or tubes, coming up into there, joint to here, that goes through, comes into here. So that makes this look really guilty of being an oil pump, which would come up into here, or maybe it's just not a pump but a regulator. Comes up into here, because this is right full of oil. Comes into this little guy. I don't see any wires coming off of it though. So maybe that's just a purely mechanical device. If that's the case, how the hell would this thing know if the oil pump's on or not? That's what I want to know. Yeah, trying to figure these things out. It's like a little brain teaser. Let's hop back up in here. Reconnect a couple of things. I just removed that one wire. That will open the circuit coming through that pink and blue wire. If that is what's triggering it, if I understand how this thing's working right, then that thing should not be able to complete the circuit. That little buzzer should not buzz. If that's the case, then I've identified the buzzer problem as being a potentially bad sensor, short to ground. What I could do to test that is to ground that little point and see if this thing starts buzzing. So I'm going to try that out, I think. Hey, no buzzer. Battery voltage is registering. So maybe, just maybe, I've found the sole root of that buzzer. Quick test. Oh yeah. Okay. So quick and dirty fix. Take that gosh darned wire off. Actual fix. If my previous assumption was correct, that this little guy here creates a short to ground whenever this thing's too hot, well, then I'd be seeing something here, right? So clearly this isn't grounded. Oh shit, what's the source of ground? There. Right there. Source of ground. And then when this thing gets grounded, that is what I get. So, this little guy on this little block is shorted to ground. Why? Why is this block shorted to ground? I'm sure I can get the same effect. Yeah. Alright, so this brown wire coming out of this little voltage control is probably a ground reference. It is brown. So why was it terminated here? Did the guy I bought it from try and tinker on this thing and make a mistake putting it back together? Should this ground reference maybe go to this black wire? I don't want to blow anything while this thing's hot right now. I want to know how this darn voltage control module works. Alright, so that's one mystery solved. I don't think the sensor's bad. But I do think that this wire right here maybe ought not be right there. Maybe it ought to be right here. Maybe this guy ought to be right here. Maybe this thing was put together altogether wrong. But without a wiring diagram for this thing, I don't know what's right. So I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna Google it on my phone. I'm gonna see if I can figure out what this thing is supposed to be tied to, and maybe that's my whole problem. Maybe it isn't, but maybe it is. Alright, so I'm gonna have to get this thing put back together before I forget how it came apart. So I'm gonna reassemble this tonight. I'm going to see if I can solve that problem, knowing that the problem isn't in here. So I can probably put this thing right back together here in short order. Well, after tinkering with this for a while, and Alex gave me some help, we found out that this little guy right here should be our idle adjustment screw. So the thing was idling a little high when we first took it out, so we turned it down, lengthened this out a little bit. This looks like it's our governor. We'll play with that later maybe. And we're still having the same wiring problem, but what I think it is now is not this sensor right here and this connector to the little buzzer, but I found out by doing some Googling that this little guy right here controls the oil level alarm and oil pump alarm, I guess. It's an alarm unit. This is probably supposed to be hooked here. This unit right here might be burnt out, and it might have gotten burnt out when we hooked it up to a bad battery.